So I have wanted to cover this topic since pretty much day one of Tech Tips, or at least when I first heard about it, the Bigfoot Network's Killer NIC. Now today we have an updated version. It's the Visiontek Killer Xeno Pro, which is basically kind of like the old Killer NIC, except they've made a few key improvements. First of all, it comes in a PCI Express interface, and you can actually see it installed in one of our two identical gaming PCs. And second of all, it includes some new software enhancements as well as support for accelerating your internet voice chat, such as Ventrilo or Mumble. Now, the reason I haven't covered it until now is I could never come up with a way to fairly test the Killer NIC. Now, some of their claims, like improving frames per second, lowering your latency, as well as improving how quickly the game actually updates the information on your screen, are pretty hard to verify. But I think I've come up with a way. We have two identical gaming machines featuring Core i5-750 processors, 4 gigs of RAM, and GTX 260 video cards, and we're going to be pitting the Killer NIC up against an Intel Gigabit network card, as well as the onboard network card on the MSI P55 CD53 motherboard. So the first game we decided to use to test Bigfoot's claims about the Killer Xeno Pro is EverQuest 2. I figured that's appropriate because it is actually included with the Visiontek Killer Xeno Pro. So their claims are lower pings, higher frames per second, as well as more frequent updates from the game server. Whether it's an MMO or a first-person shooter, you're going to see that monster first. You're going to see the guy's head pop around the corner faster than anyone else. So the first one's easy to test. We can use the included performance monitor in EverQuest 2 here. We can have a look at our frames per second, which is the big green number, as well as our pings, which is the little blue number. So on the Intel NIC, which is on your left, my right, we have 55 frames per second and a ping of 99 milliseconds. And on the Killer Xeno Pro, we have a frame rate of 55 frames per second with a ping of 134 milliseconds. Now, these vary a little bit, but in general, they're both pretty similar to each other in the time that we've been sitting here looking at them. Now, the last one is far more difficult to test, because you have to actually have 3 PCs, 3 separate accounts for EverQuest 2, and you have to be patient enough to actually move one account around in front of the other two to find out which one is receiving the updates first. So I've set all this up for you. All you've got to do is be the judge, so to speak. I want you to have a look. This is the Killer Xeno Pro. At the 2 screens, I am going to move my walking man character behind here. When I say go, I'm going to move him, and I want you to try and figure out which computer receives the update first. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. I don't know if you caught that. Let's try one more time. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, I'll give you a couple more shots at it. 3, 2, 1, go. I'm moving him. And one more time. 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, okay, so that is our EverQuest 2 testing. Stay tuned for more. So our second test was inspired by Bigfoot Network's own testing of Team Fortress 2. So we've got 2 characters running Team Fortress 2. We're on the same server. This is just a public server here. Nothing special about it. We're on the map 2 Fort, and it's actually quite full. It's got about 28 players on it as I'm speaking. Okay, so I'm actually going to come around to the front, but I'm going to get the cameraman to have a look at the NetGraph 3 stats that I have running down in the corner here. So you can see that the Killer NIC is actually about the same frame rate. So the Killer NIC is on my right, and the Intel NIC is on the left. But we are consistently seeing anywhere from about 5 to 10 millisecond lower pings on the Killer NIC versus on the Intel NIC in this particular game. That's pretty cool. Now, as far as the faster updates go, you can see the engineer working over here, as well as the heavy with the halo around him over here. I'll let you be the judge of whether we're receiving game updates any faster, but I guess that pretty much concludes our coverage of the Killer Xeno Pro, and I apologize for not testing against the onboard NIC, but I felt rather than test a $100 NIC versus a $0 NIC, the best thing, after doing my introduction already, was actually to test against a more competitive product. So thank you for checking out NCIX Tech Tips on the Killer Xeno Pro.